So that was sort of predictable. That heel turn by Chad Gable. I think we all saw this one coming. Some of us at WrestleMania 40. Some of us tonight. I certainly said it in my preview show that it was a good chance of it happening. But here's the thing, though. That's okay. At least they did something. Ending the show with just a simplistic winner isn't good enough these days. We need the old hook. That whole what's going to tune us in next week. We need that every now and again in wrestling, and I'm glad it ended that way. I'm glad they set the stage for a future feud that's going to be pretty personal. What's more personal than getting beaten up in front of your family? He just suplexed the shit out of him. Both the guys suplexed the shit out of each other. Gable and Zayn did. We're going to talk all about that. Welcome, everyone, to the Raw review for the Raw after WrestleMania. From Montreal, Quebec, Canada. A place where even if the show is flat, the crowd, you wouldn't feel it because the crowd's going to be jacked no matter what. One of the best wrestling cities out there. I'm not just saying that because I'm Canadian. I'm from West Canada. Montreal is far, far East Canada. Still Canada, though. Second biggest nation on Earth, so that's a long ways away in total land area. Definitely not the second biggest in population. I think California or New York, both states have more people in those states than Canada has in their whole country. What's up, everybody? Brett Mix here to do a rundown on everything that happened for the Raw on April the 15th, 2024 from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. So whether you watch the show tonight, I got you covered for the next 25 minutes to half hour. Kick back, get a beverage, whatever you got to do to relax. We're going to go over everything that happened on the show tonight. And we're going to give analysis on the places where analysis is needed. As always, Cole and McAfee on the desk, both still finding their footing as a tandem. Much like Graves and Barrett on the Blue brand, I feel they've done a fine job. I think it's been very sufficient. One thing that you always want from your announcers is the appearance that they enjoy what they're doing. You don't want the old Jerry the King Lawler post-Attitude Era feel, where he's like, yeah, this is great. Come on, King. We know you don't like your job anymore. Cole and McAfee act like they are having a fun time. Even if they're not having a fun time, you couldn't be able to tell because they act like they're having a fun time. So that's what you want to see. You want to see that energy. You want to see that enthusiasm out of your announcers, and I think they do a good job. Graves and Barrett are doing a kick-ass job on SmackDown. I think they're even doing better. But Michael Cole is definitely finding his footing. I'll talk a little bit more about Michael Cole in a couple minutes here. We kick it off showing the big names arrive to the arena, and this is something I really dig out of the new WWE direction. They're really showing a lot of stars arrive to the arena at the beginning of the show. It really makes them feel like they're big celebrities, and it really puts stock into them being there on the night, and it really makes you say, okay, well, this guy's here tonight, so this is going to be a big episode. What's this guy got planned? And it really makes them feel like celebrities, like they're walking on the red carpet or they're arriving at an award show. It really puts them over. So whoever's decision that was, great decision. And, Kevin Dunn left. Triple H took over. So there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys there. Brian Gerwitz, I think, came back as a writer. There's a lot of guys that could be, Bruce Pritchard's still there, that could be in the lead direction role for this, but it could be suggested. God, it could be suggested by somebody in sound for all I know. But whoever is making these decisions, I'm really liking a lot of the changes. It's really coming off well on TV production-wise. The opening segment was all about the women's champion who had been reigning for the 380 days, including today. She said this title means more than anything in her life, and she came out with a slinger at her right shoulder. She said this was good as it didn't treat fans like morons. She said, by now you know what's going on, as they usually don't treat fans like we know what's going on. They treat us like social media doesn't exist sometimes. People know, wrestling fans know. If you're going to a Raw show in 2024, you're likely aware of what's going on behind the scenes because you're on the internet or you're on Instagram or social media or whatever. And if you don't do it yourself, there's somebody sitting next to you that did, and you're going to hear the word of mouth. So people knew this about Rhea before she even came out. That's why I'm glad she acknowledged the fact that we knew that. Rhea Ripley injured from Liv Morgan, and she had to give up the title. Security give Liv Das boot as she reacted to this. Rhea walked backstage, and the Judgment Day gave her a big hug. Rhea said she's coming back when whoever wins this title, and she's coming for blood. So that was good to see that side of Rhea Ripley. Judgment Day tell her she's Rhea Bloody Ripley, and she'll get back better than ever when she comes back. So sad segment for Rhea Ripley. Great title reign. Sad that it has to end on that note, but at the same time, she can always say I wasn't defeated for my championship, and I held it over a year. So that's it's kind of a, what do they call that? Sugarcoating? Not sugarcoating. I can't think of the term right now. It's because of performance. I know I'm recording right now, so I'm thinking these seconds ticking by while I'm trying to think of the name. But it's not salt in the wounds. God, this is gonna bug me. But it's something where you don't want it right now, but it's gonna look okay later down the road. And I think it will for Rhea Ripley. It'll look better down the road. When she can say she was the unpinned reigning champion for that long. So overall, this is going to come back, and this is going to be, of course, it's so simple. Bittersweet is what I was looking for. Such a simple word, too. So it's bittersweet, but there is light at the end of the tunnel for Rhea Ripley, and she'll come back better than ever, and she can say that. So sad news for her, but better in the long run when she does come back. Opening match was Sheamus versus Ivar. Sheamus making his big return, his first in-ring action in 8 months. He came off top with a big superplex to Ivar. I wrote in my notes, well, it didn't matter who was in this match because Sheamus was going to win regardless. I said in my notes, watch him face somebody like Ivar. And then when Ivar's music hit, I'm not some genius. I don't like to talk to myself like I'm a genius, like I predicted the Gable heel turn. When you've been watching wrestling for 3 decades, you just pick up on things that are going to happen. I just, for whatever reason, I was like, Ivar is going to be Sheamus' opponent. And then, boom, Ivar came out. Wrestling can still surprise me, so I don't predict. You guys can tell from my predictions if you followed my channel for the past few months. I don't predict all the things right. I sometimes do okay. I got Survivor Series perfect. Royal Rumble, I got about 60%. And WrestleMania, I think I got about 65, 70%. If not 60%, somewhere in there, 60 to 70. So that's not genius-like at all. But I don't know. When you kind of pick up on wrestling cliches after a while and you kind of see where it's going. Triple H comes out with a red carpet. That's a 2-star match, by the way. I think Sheamus and Ivar put together. Triple H comes out with a red carpet and it has title belts. As you can clearly tell, they're title belts because there's a big podium with a blanket over it, like there always is, or a big fitted sheet. And out comes Triple H with Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce didn't get the same ovation on the microphone that Triple H got, to say the least. They introduced the champions. Awesome Truth comes out. The "You Deserve It" chant is very loud. Miz recognizes that it's mostly for R-Truth, so he lifts R-Truth's hand. So nice of Miz to do that. But then they chant "Ole, Ole, Ole" because they referenced Montreal. And when you reference Montreal, "Ole, Ole, Ole" is something they sing at Montreal Canadiens games in the NHL. They'll sing that at Montreal Alouettes games in the CFL. It's a Canadian Football League. But joke about Canadian Football League here. Hey, The Rock used to play in it. But so it's a Montreal thing. But Miz says they're thinking of Sami Zayn already. So it's not Miz. It's not a Sami Zayn. I know they do that for Zayn, but it's a Montreal thing. Zayn is Montreal. That's why they do it for Zayn. So they do that chant, and Miz obviously put that line there, and then R-Truth does some comedy with Triple H, calling him Tommaso Ciampa, saying Triple H is not here, and then he always thinks Triple H is there when it's the DIY. He gets those two teams mixed up, the DIY and DX. So that running gag continues. Triple H is just like, can I leave? Can I get out of here? Here, take your new titles. And they're nice-looking belts. They're going to be known as the World belts from now on. I think that's a good decision as they're focusing on Raw being the brand where it's the World Champion, World Tag Titles, whereas SmackDown will be the WWE or Universal. That'll be the SmackDown titles, and that's the Raw titles. That's the way they want to word things. And it's going to lead, they need we have new champions, so we need new number one contenders. Why not a triple threat number one contender match? And why not next? That's what Adam Pearce announces, and 3 random teams are put together. I mean, half these teams made the ladder match at WrestleMania, the other half didn't, and it's awkward that they're there. The Creeds, for instance, didn't make the match, but they're in the same level as DIY. Why? DIY won their number one contender match for WrestleMania and didn't win at WrestleMania. So why is DIY in the same bracket as the Creeds? It just doesn't really make sense when they throw these number one contender multi-man matches together like they did on SmackDown last week with the 2 triple threats. Random. However, it's good that they are having more number one contender matches. At least they're finding a number one contender. Better than just random title shots. At least they're doing that much work. I'll give them that. In the old regime, we just get title shots for no explanation at all. At least we're getting number one contender matches. So we can say that much about the Triple H era. And we're starting to get some great wrestling here. I mean, the DIY's in there with the Creeds. Come on. And then you add the veterans that can fly like the New Day. You knew you're going to get some good aerial wrestling here. You're going to get some good mat wrestling here. You're going to get some good spots here. And that's what this was. This was a big spot fest, but that's okay. I mean, some matches can be spot fests. This was a spot fest. And it was just a lot of moments thrown together rather than the story of a structured match. I don't like that as much as I like a traditional tag team wrestling match, because you had to focus on 6 guys, but 3 of them at the same time. It's kind of a schmoz. It kind of takes away the selling. It takes away the actual structures and fundamentals of a good old wrestling match. But at the same time, it does add to it for spots. So we got the spots. DIY wins in 10 minutes. I believe they will be the new tag team champions too. I really believe DIY is going to win the belts either next week or at Backlash. If not sooner, or not, can't be sooner than that. If not later, I should say. If they don't win at Backlash, maybe Money in the Bank or SummerSlam. But I really think DIY is going to grab those titles. I think Awesome Truth got it as a consolation prize for being, over as he is and getting that WrestleMania moment. And now that they got that after the few weeks of being champions, they got to, have that ceremony with the new tag titles. So after those nice moments, it's time to give it to the team that deserves it. And Triple H, I really feel DIY is his boys, right? For NXT Black and Gold, Gargano and Ciampa were his boys, right? So I really think that's Triple H's long-term vision here, is to give DIY those tag titles. And so I give that match 3 stars and a quarter. Arguably could have been higher than that, but I have a list of 3.5 star and over matches. I didn't feel like adding it to the list, so I was like, I'll just give this 3 stars and a quarter. Only because, again, It's a triple threat tag team match. It doesn't ring well. It was more of a spot fest. I don't want to say just a spot fest because it devalues what the kind of action that they brought. But spot fest is a spot fest. Drew McIntyre watches a CM Punk vid and he is laughing, and Jackie Redmond's like, "Whoa, this is not the kind of reaction I was expecting from you, Drew. Are you okay?" And then Drew just stops laughing and claymores the TV set. And then he walks off angry as Jackie Redmond can't get a word. Indy Hartwell, and that was it for Drew McIntyre tonight. That's all they had for Drew. After last week of him coming out, cutting a promo, and then being pinned and screwed by CM Punk in that fatal 4-way. Drew McIntyre is obviously angry at CM Punk. Shans chatted CM Punk at the end of the segment as he walked off. Next up, we had Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae versus Ivy Nile and Maxine Dupree. They're really focusing on the women's tag team scene in the WWE. I mean, you got to give them credit for trying. It's not the most entertaining television from where I sit, but it's at least they're doing something with it. Basic win here for Hartwell and LeRae. LeRae continues to be the vicious heel. Dupree with some decent moves in this match. She's improving. McAfee mentions Michael Cole finding his best self in this new Triple H regime where he's allowed to be more himself. They didn't say that, but that's why he's being his best self. Cole's more comfortable as a result, and we're probably getting the best Michael Cole we've ever gotten. I know it doesn't set the bar very high for some of you, but It's probably the best Michael Cole. He just seems like he's having a great time. Like I said at the intro, where the trio, the duos need to look like they're having a great time. Just a few minutes of a match here, and like I say, Dupree improved with some ring moves. Enzuigiri, a fisherman suplex, a crossbody off the top. So she was getting her footing a little bit. Ivy Nile was always impressive, but LeRae and Indy Hartwell win the match, and they get it with a dirty pin as they do more heel work. Star and a half for that match. Andrade took on Dirty Dom with JD McDonough from the Judgment Day. Mysterio took advantage ahead of the commercial break thanks to interference from JD McDonough. The Brazilian third generation competition fought back, though, thwarting further attempts at interference and scoring the win with a twisting hammerlock DDT, giving the Judgment Day the victory. A post-step beatdown concluded with Ricochet hitting the ring and chasing the heels off. Star and 3/4 for that relatively short match. Kathy Kelly gets a word with Jey Uso about the bloodline. Jey Uso mentioned, look, Jimmy should have came with me, but he has to worry about Balor tonight. Yeet. Chelsea Green. Sorry, I'll never do that again. Actually, I think a few months ago I said Chelsea Green that way, and I said I'll never do that again. So I apologize if I broke my promise. But Chelsea Green and Piper Niven take on Chance and Carter. Again, they're really pushing this tag division for the women. Even on SmackDown last week, Chelsea Green competed on SmackDown and on Raw. That's a lot of Chelsea Green. At least we only have to hear her name pronounced that way only once, because I don't think Samantha Irvin does SmackDown, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. For some reason, I'm not picturing Samantha Irvin on SmackDown. I could be wrong about that. Maybe she does both. God, I should know that. But no, I don't think she does both. So at least we'll only get to hear her name like that once, unless she does both. Niven ran into Carter, and Green wins the match, getting her the win back after losing to the mega team of Cargill and Belair last week. 3/4 of a star. Cody walks to the ring backstage. He's going to be out next. The crowd sing Ole 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 because, again, that's a Montreal thing. It's not a Sami Zayn thing. Even if they do chant it for him too, it's more of a Montreal thing. Rhodes says, what do you want to talk about in Francais? He reflects on Rollins thanking him. He reflects on Rock. In typical manic fashion, he was going to make him bleed, but Cody says, Rock, if you're going to make me bleed, you're going to bleed with me. The crowd cheer. Rhodes talks about the bloodline. Rhodes talks about Jey Uso, who came out, and Cody says, until we eat again, as he wishes him well, in case Cody's not going to be long on the Raw brand. We had a match between main event Jey Uso and Finn Balor. Jey wins and was attacked before the bell, probably thanks to Damian Priest's idea, who faces him at France at Backlash on May the 4th. How many May the 4th be with you jokes are we going to get? Uso wins the splash, and Priest walks to the ring and goes face-to-face with Jey. The Judgment Day attack Jey after the match. Priest lifts up his title. Jey escapes through the crowd. 2 stars for that match. Then the Judgment Day, the Yeet Force Master, Jey to exit through the crowd, and as he leaves, he pushes a fan who's in front of him, and the crowd laughed at that. And he sees Sami Zayn. He says, what you looking at, Use? What you looking at, bro? And Sami Zayn says, 25 years ago, I came through this entrance right here as a fan, and now I'm going to come through the same way, defending the Intercontinental title against Chad Gable in the main event. And Zayn comes in the same way Jey leaves. So some good Scorsese-like camera action. Again, the production team for WWE, they're doing a fantastic job with these minor changes that might not be so minor. Sami Zayn defends the IC title against Chad Gable. Zayn comes in the same way. Again, Jey leaves. Awesome directorial decision, I wrote. They preview some matches for next week from Columbus, Ohio. You see Big Bronson Reed backstage tell Gable that whoever wins tonight will have to go through him. Big Bronson Reed. A great amateur chain wrestling beginning. Zayn out-wrestles Gable early, and he bounces off the ropes like he has for a couple decades. A true veteran in the business is Sami Zayn. Gable, amateur champion as well, elbowed out of the corner and a show off the top by Sami. Zayn running on adrenaline and roll through on Gable. An ST lock into an ankle lock. Another ankle lock and Zayn goes down. Gable takes a horrible landing, awkward after counter after counter. If that didn't feel good, the exploder suplex into the corner couldn't have felt much better. Zayn goes for a sharpshooter, and after a haluva kick attempt, Zayn crashes and falls, crashing into the corner. Suplex by Gable. taking advantage of that. And then he takes an ankle lock to the bad ankle that went out on Zayn after he tried the sharpshooter. The same one. And Zayn kicks out. Zayn can't counter, but he walks into a blue thunder bomb. Zayn looks for a haluva kick in the corner and gets the big victory. Hell of a match. Semi-predictable turn coming, but I called it in my preview. But still, at least we got a good story with the heel turn. We got a great match here. I gave it 3 stars and a quarter. Not because I don't want to put it on my 3.5 star list. It was probably credible to be on the list, but it's not 6 stars like Pat McAfee was calling it literally 3 minutes in. I don't rate. I know I take the star ratings list probably too seriously, but I don't rate things 6 stars. Meltzer might, but I think 5 is the limit. I don't think, just like there's no 110%. 100% is the top. You're defeating the purpose of a whole ranking system if you go over it, but that's just a minor gripe I have for Dave Meltzer and how he rates matches. That does it for the match portion of the show. After the match, the heel turn to end the night. They had Gable's emotions get the better of him as he gives Zayn a handshake and a hug, tells him good job, and then leaves. But then Zayn goes to celebrate with his family, and then we get a big German suplex from behind onto the floor by Chad Gable as he turns heel. And then he does an ankle lock on the top rope to Sami Zayn's bad ankle. Ouch. So a big heel turn by Chad Gable. Out of 10, I rate this show a solid, I went back and forth, a solid 5.5 out of 10 because while nothing sucked, nothing gave us a wow feeling tonight. You start the night with the downer of Rhea's announcement. And that's big, don't get me wrong. You go into Sheamus's comeback match with Ivar, a pretty impressive short match. Then we go into the Triple H segment that had some good comedy with Truth, new heels, and we venture into a 3-way #1 contender spot fest, which I guess had some new spots, some wow spots, but none overall as a moment. DIY get their big win, and from there we go to a women's tag match, and not the one of 2 of the women's tag matches tonight, which kind of took the pace of the show a little bit downward. Cody's segment with Jay was kind of just there. We had a couple of decent matches with Sami and Gable and the tag match. So a couple of quality tonight in the tag and the main event, but we're coming off WrestleMania. Maybe that's why nothing felt wow worthy. It's because there's no Rock appearance this week. And, you're missing Gunther and you're missing Rollins. And, we haven't had Roman Reigns. So there's a lot of stars that Becky Lynch wasn't on Raw. So there was a lot of lacking, but we got a lot of undercard stars tonight. Nia Jax had her promo. I didn't mention that, but she's going for the title. That's what wrestling does, though. It uses real life, and it also plays towards booking if it can. That's why they did what they did with Liv and Rhea. They anywhere and everywhere all the time. If it can be used for wrestling work, if it can be used in a future storyline, they're gonna do it because they need to contrive stories from somewhere. So the next up, we got SmackDown with the new Bloodline 2.0, as some people are calling it. That's going to be a must-watch. So I'll be back for the SmackDown review Friday night. I'll also preview for it, you guys, and I'll do a Raw rating report as well. Thank you for watching tonight's Raw review for April the 15th, 2024 from the Bell Center in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Thanks for enjoying this review, and hope you enjoyed the show. If nothing else, follow me on my channel, hit subscribe and like if you've made it this far, of course. And if you've not subscribed, please do so and follow along with my Monday Night War videos that I do on the daily on this channel. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next for the SmackDown review. I'm Brett Mix, and I'm out. Good night, everyone.